Okay. Anybody else have anything else? Side trips, non sequiturs, random stuff. So, Bob Armstrong, the floor is yours.
Okay. Uh, the screen, one of the things is, I'll go and, for anybody who's not familiar, F1, the main keys in CoSy, only a few are defined, puts down a time, puts a lot of about putting down timestamps, and F6 goes and executes a line, and F8 goes and opens up a URL. Shift F executes directly in fourth, and everything actually executes directly in fourth, but F6 goes and expects a CoSy object and outputs it. But let me hit F11 and put down a timestamp because I see we're um, right on time. Um, One comment on Bill's talk. You see that most fundamentally CoSy is a notebook, but it's a notebook where if you write down a line in fourth CoSy and hit F6, it'll do it. So these are my notes from Bill's talk, and one of the things is the objects are rather similar to dictionaries, which are lists. Everything in CoSy is lists, lists of lists, and dictionaries are lists of two lists, a list of keys or names or whatever, and a list of associated values. So I've actually, and actually, I had a conversation with Alan Kay one time about the thing um, met the whole object-oriented things was it lacked the notion of the geometric structure of the data, which APL had. And I've never really, most fundamentally, because the fourth that the Riva fourth that this is in, which is an x86 fourth, um, has it has the standard dictionary thing. If you're able to go and define definitions in a allocated space, then it'd be easy to go and have language directly in any list. In that case, then you'd have methods. You'd have that aspect of forth. Incidentally, and I put the link down here, but I happened to have it on the screen. Here's some history of when this guy Ryo Osaki, who made this Ampere computer in Japan, which had APL in RAM. I suggested to him that he should look at fourth as the foundation for that. Anyway, let me one of the things, as you can see, I think I've never seen anybody else go and actually give their talks directly in the, in their product. Um, but the focus on this is putting the power of language to direct everyday use, and so you're not going off somewhere else to do programming. You just go and write it down, and you can execute it in line, and we'll get to some specifics of that. But and working to refine language and environment for simplicity and power at the human level. It's not surprising because fourth simply has a monopoly on really dealing directly with architecture, with the underlying architecture openly. And I've expressed it as even having factored the act of compilation. Um, the thing, though, is that the extensibility, the fact the fourth is really about uh, just reaching the point where you have a dictionary that is capable of extending itself. That other end, going and bringing it all the way up to a human useful level, is is only possible with fourth. But this is refining language and environment for simplicity and power at the human level, with the simplicity and openness only possible in fourth. And one of the things is that virtually all other things, and standard people expect to have an app which does some particular task, and you control it through whatever menu structure the creators of the thing felt were good ideas, but menus can't match language in terms of power. And I don't know, some of you may have perhaps gotten my newsletter, which I just got out, my summer solstice to aphelion, which is February or July 3rd. Yeah, July 3rd. We will be at our furthest distance from the sun for the year. And I've been, because I can go and do computations directly in my environment, I've gotten involved in the whole Allegretto warming non-science. Um, but an F8 is programmed to open up. This is my most recent newsletter, and if you want to get on my mailing list, well, just email me to be joined. But I think some of the things in it, it was interesting conversation with actually trying to go and essentially have fourth at a human level be a compelling alternative to anything written in any other language. Um, it's interesting that this guy Dave Thomas, who is chief scientist, among other things, well, he's proven business strategist and so forth. Boy, I hate these damned uh, things where um, I can't go back because of stupid. There, you moved out of the way for some reason. Oh, anyway, I see I can go. Um, but he had this good comment. What's the difference between a founder and an entrepreneur? Answer, an entrepreneur can sell. So unfortunately, I'm a founder. Um, but success usually, and this is another thing that touches on the fourth. The success usually comes from success in a narrow vertical, and so having a broad platform that's sort of saying, "Hey, this can do everything," is not as good. But anyway, moving on because you can get this, and I'll be uploading the this all my notes as usual. Um, Getting into sort of the first conversation that started with having done a couple of practical sort of things that I'd like to one of the things that I've been um, on LinkedIn, I've been producing mainly dialogue APL. It goes and has these complex lines and challenges on APL Monday. And I've been going and redoing those in fourth. And this one is actually particularly uh, all of what it's what the hell is this bunch of code doing? Well, actually, uh, it's just going and doing, well, here it is in CoSy, and I have a variable around with the alphabet in it. Um, well, to go and just do an example, I can copy this from here and paste it. Whoops. What? Oh, now you have sixth. I need to copy it over. Dot dot is dupe. This is how many characters there are. Go and make and I don't know why I have six, but make six random numbers. Oh, okay. Yeah. Choose six random numbers and add. It's so there's a random. This is just this bunch of code is simply the fourth is dupe count and this their code is restricted to just one at a time. So this is more general. And I've sixed that. Every time I do it, it'll come up with, you notice the result is up over here. Um, but this is the sort of thing. The fourth, CoSy's now very frequently simpler. And I actually have gone to using Grok and Claude and so forth. I mean, I spent my life doing APL, but the syntax has become so confounded with the semantics that I use Grok and Claude to essentially go and decipher it and turn it into RPN, into read it, do it, into the linear sequence. And one thing that got mentioned, two items got mentioned. Oh, there was another example that was so complex that turned into one of the other. Do I have it? No, I'll skip that. But one of the extremely practical things I did, and I this is something my business my CoSy has come into creation despite everything that could possibly stand in its way. So I don't like doing timestamps or doing time accounting. And actually, I'd be interested in how many people actually go and charge by their time. But when it comes to, going and suing somebody, and unfortunately, it's too common. My understanding is I'm publishing my tariff that this is how much I'm going to sue you for if I have to do it. So there's a bit of code here um, that essentially, I'll skip down. Oh, also, these discuss CoSy anytimes in response to Dialogue APL Mondays. Um, this is also in Techie Dome, which I invite everybody to go and reply to. I mean, this has got, and as a matter of fact, if I scroll down here, um, I've got those, but yeah, here I generally post all the videos from here on here, and anybody can go here and simply comment on them. Um, but uh, so Techie Dome, but here from my time accounting, um, simply, well, you notice that I put down a timestamp by hitting. F uh, F11, if I put an asterisk in front of that, and if I went up here, for instance, and just follow this with an asterisk, then on time will go and when handed the text, this text, it will extract all of those intervals between asterisks and count up the minutes, and you can see it's actually an exceptionally long program in CoSy. It's I've got it divided here into three lines. You can see this is the two tokens, and it goes and does the string searches on them, and then it grabs the numbers on either side and it turns those into the numbers and so forth. But in any case, this gives me a mechanism in my everyday thing to essentially I had a timestamp, an asterisk, and then if I have to, go do something else of any nature, I had an asterisk and a timestamp, and it turns off my clock. So I anybody who sort of has to live by keeping, time accounting, uh, that's here, just in the middle of your everyday log, your everyday notes. Um, and Oh, the other thing that came up, and this is what gets for talks to John Peters thing. Notice here, this is the name I'm so addicted to responding to reading too many newsletters and so forth and so forth that I actually have a this is yeah. Um, uh, daily blog. Switch to tab. Oh, I hope it's oh, okay. I keep this uh daily blog, which which one of the things is I find useful just simply to remember things that I considered relevant and so forth. But I'll just go and put the URLs up, and there's a bit of cozy code to go and bring those to go and pull those out of my notes. But the notes are in um, oops. Notice this is just tick, by the way, so common to have a non-blank string of characters. Tick is like it returns the following what's following it. And one reason I liked Riva is actually the comment symbol is a bar symmetric, but tick just returns the following non-blank string as a string, and start job goes and you can see it started the job, which isn't very, oh, this is not going to work well. But one of the things is down here. This is where to go and upload this, convert the URLs. One of the things, I will go and upload this unless I have another copy. I thought I had, yeah, no. Um, I Let me go and change the size of things. This is the Riva preprocessor. If I change that to a 0, and what do I want? Let me get up. I think it's 16 is the biggest font that I have here. Put a 1 there and do a save on that and go and restart the thing. Yeah, now it's a little more readable. Um, but you see, the power of having language where I can just have these lines in my notes, and I just go and copy over the URL and then generally hit a timestamp, which doesn't save before doing it. But the main line is not uploading. Got a bunch of stuff here, but here's the lines that are used for uploading. But I following John Peters introducing or causing me introducing me to curl, which is quite powerful. Um, I simply go and well, first of all, um, I save the text. I eh, let me skip to anyway. You can see this is where what seems weird on this. Oh, how in the world? Oh, no wonder this is screwed up. Somehow I got 24. Oh, ah, call it a. This is somehow an old copy of blog. But you see, I can just start, any a job just by hitting things. But fundamentally, I've just recently made these www words um, that are all, well, let me go and first let me make open up a working, an editing window. I've got these www words, and then to go and now whatever the last R0 is always whatever the last thing was, and colon question mark goes through all of the fourth scripts that go to make up CoSy, and tick goes and of course returns that as an address. And this is go and execute this on each of them. And there may be duplicates. So anyway, this is all the instructions and to go and show it. Um, Here are all the definitions. And you can see, and they're sort of the newest is first in the listing of the words because most recently defined words. Um, but the first one that used, where is it's the WW get is what it's really, I see based on, and you see that actually executes this line, this curl, and then catnates on whatever you're handing it, and then it sends that to shell, which returns the thing. So and the directory is built on that, and so I've been able to for quite a long time go and retrieve. Well, since John Peters' talk and so forth, go and retrieve any information as long as you know how to construct the curl thing. More recently, though, I learned the sequence for actually going and putting something out, and that requires a password, which is here, and that's that's weird that man, I should just open up the script for curl for um blog. Um, yeah, most of my functions here. Um, oh, forget it. I should have just, why not, how can that not be right? Uh, um, is there a 25 version of it? No. Then maybe I was just not reading that right. Oh, this has got to be, it's not the right copy. How in the world can there not be a different copy? This doesn't have it, but in any case, one of the things I wanted to show is that I recently have gotten it so that it goes and retrieves my password from from my main log, which I'll show because it's too bloody small to go. But here's my daily notes up to just to the today's notes Signet. But in here, I have in referencing what my uh, password is. And actually, in the last demo, I actually exposed my password. So it's there, my old password on YouTube. But now I have it, so it goes and pulls that in, and then goes and attaches that to essentially the local file, the remote file, and then essentially whatever file you want to go and does that. But one of the things again with language and these iterators, um, I thought I had a, well, oh, yeah, here. One of the things is all of the code. I actually, William Wang at Electronic Design went and recommended GitHub to me sometime, and I went and messed with that. But simpler, let me move this over here. Um, and expand it. But I find it simpler, particularly because I've got language to go and for instance, like I say, on terms of of uh, of synchronizing files and uploading them. One of the things is I used to have to go out from CoSy and to Windows or a FTP server to go and upload things. Now I can just have a couple of lines in the script itself and execute those lines and upload the file to, both save and upload the file. And of course, all of that, anything that can be written in a couple of lines can be turned into a word, trivially enough. But one of the things is this is if you go to it's just as simpler to go and have everything in a simple file, particularly now that I can up or download directly from it. And most of the actual CoSy code is in these all the .f files. And I've started a help file under that. And iterators are these words like this is essentially do everything apply a function as you saw over here. Go and find the documentation, the definition and documentation, which again is unique in any programming environment or any user environment, and particularly APL. You can go and get documentation on what a word means, but what a word really means is its definition. And this always has, and it's also, wow, wonder why it did that. This is one of the things that is problems that why going to having a replacing this with a browser, all through a browser, is one of the two really substantial tasks. And I know um, um, Brad knows how to do this stuff, but oh, I know why. It's because R0 was who knows what. yeah, I wanted to go and just execute this to go and show these definitions, but uh, sometimes my any documentation, any descriptions of what really it should be right at the definition, open a URL in a browser, blah, 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 and so forth, is right at the definition of the word. So it's right in the scripts. And by the way, when that bombed, it actually went and reloaded all of the fourth, and it reloaded all of those scripts and so forth to restart. And also notice that it had saved my environment before it bombed. So I came back to what I was working on before. So this is the thing is about making a human useful just general, environment that is essentially more than anything else your daytimer, your log, whatever you want to call it. But the one point I wanted to make about these iterators is that each of these turns, anytime you do a loop, anytime you make a loop that is essentially a paragraph, um, oh, that's actually one of those interesting things uh, in the CoSy any days is a comparison with of Jan LeCun, who I guess is the chief AI scientist or whatever at Meta, maybe, went and gave a little segment of Python, and I go and do it in CoSy. It's half the number of characters. It's 128 characters instead of 252 or something like that. But each one of these, and there's these somewhat evolved directly from K, with the change that I need to go and say, do I want to do this on the top of this top of stack item, or do I want to take the top and the second, you have essentially left and right. I call them left and right. But so this will go and do each item pairwise in a pair of lists. It'll apply whatever the function is. Like here, this is just monadic. It's just doing it. But I finally got a list of these, and each left will hold this one constant and apply it against as a parameter to every one of the items in the left. And they're each left, each right, but every one of those is turning a paragraph in raw forth into a word and and just the brilliant notion of having the quote returning the address of the word, whether it's a verb or a noun or whatever. And there's some other versions like if you want to sum something, it's essentially plus dot slash plus across. Some like here's an example, 1, 2, 3, 6. And variation. And scan returns the partial thing. So Arthur Whitney would call it integrates. And this does essentially differentiation. It does it on each pair. And A apply is actually something that APL has buried inside it, but not as a thing. Given you have lists of lists, like for instance, you can have, for instance, an arbitrary dimensional array of let's say, well, um, all the array of numbers. You have a tensor or whatever. APL or A apply goes out to those leaves of numbers or characters or whatever, and then applies the function at that level. And on two is unique and only makes sense when you have a fourth, because what it does on the top two items on the stack, it applies the function on the top two items. Um, so it's where the hybrid between having the stack forth and the lists of APL or K uh, is most powerful. So let's see. Oh, and one comment, and actually, this is something I've long said is sort of, if you will, in terms of language, the goal is the combinatoric application of verbs to nouns. So instead of having to write loops to do all of this, you can turn those paragraphs or more into lines. You can turn paragraphs into words and sequences of whole programs into a single line. And one of this is just maximizing efficiency a letter at a time. And this gets into the fact that languages like APL and well, all languages use glyphs or symbols at some point to simplify things. And I think it's essentially the only way that people can think about math. But uh, uh, one of these, I think, is I think this is from Ken Buck, is the use of, well, here's the list. This line, actually, I've thought of putting this line on CoSy any day as a challenge to APL to, okay, what does this do? And let me see your APL that matches this. But these, I want to make a list of these different prints. But one of the things you all also know that anything I've got here as a word, you can go and create and add to the language, whatever. But this, I've got several different forms of things that create lists, and that's just the list of those three words. Um, and this is uh, the list of the translations. The long words are also available. I put in, and again, the simplicity of syntax versus APL. You can't just throw a comment symbol in the middle of an APL line and expect it to do. Furthermore, one of the things is it's working from the other end. But so this is a list. Concatenated those two lists together. So this is the abbreviations and the original and the abbreviations. This is dupe, and here I'm doing counting of count each of the items in those lists, and actually I'm converting that to float, which is the other aspect that uh, can't get. But those are the number of characters in each turned into a float. So my point making this is that oh, and then dividing those two each. Oh, and here's this divide across. So this is multiplying across those, and then concatenating those and concatenating. Where did I made a copy back here? And so in any case, and then FMTTBL is a formatting thing that just goes and puts these lists, across the screen. But the whole point is that these short words are 3 and 4, and this one's and dupe is dot dot is only 1.5 times as efficient. You've just saved 3 keystrokes or 4, um, and in a sense that counts. It matters. Anyway, um, I seem to be at the bottom of my notes here, and I'll just go. And one of the things is I really am talking to people, well, about Amanda Graham, who works at a place called Eighth Light or something like that. When she saw CoSy, when I demoed it at this um, conference in Estes Park last year, and she instantly compared it with Evernote. Um, because it is all about this, but of course it's infinitely, more general than that, because you're talking about having rather deep language where you can go and write the algorithms of AI as succinctly as in, or more succinctly than any other language, but it's all open code in Forth. So in the Forth, you can map it to any processor or set of array, whatever you do to map it to parallel programming or whatever. But the big market is um, at where's ah getting back here. Uh, CoSy is a fresh paradigm in computing language and interface. The interface is actually constructed and commanded in the language. You're not going somewhere else to go and write an app. You're not doing anything else. It's just right there immediately. Um, its highest value purpose is support for individuals who think for a living. Um, and another phrase I've used is a tool for the everyday business of life. In any case, you can all look at that. But the one thing that I'll finish with is just simply right now, and oops, I just F6 that instead of F8. Um, Here's the business proposition at this point in time. Um, and for the very first few, if you get a year license, you also get 0.1% of CoSy equity. And I actually still have to construct the cap table in which is CoSy, but all my accounting is in CoSy. Like I say, my first use of Forth was to go and reconstruct my bank accounts. But um, with that, and there's some other. I've got a couple of years. I have a job for you, Joe, but I won't open that up at this point in time. That's from some history ago. But let me go and as a matter of fact, let me put a little asterisk there. So I could, how did I, let me just put down the asterisk and then just hit another F11. Okay. So now I've turned off the clock and I will turn off the screen unless somebody wants to be sure. But anybody who's got any questions, so that's the current status of CoSy, and could easily do but this ability to just simply do computations or to be able to follow your thoughts is to me, and also to remember everything. Because again, anytime I hit F6, it saves everything before it executes anything. It saves all my environment, and actually after it puts down a timestamp, it does a save on everything. So save includes the timestamp. But I literally can go back. Well, now it's close to. Well, I won't pull up, but I've got my notes for I don't know what it is, 16, 17 years now that I can go and trivially search with a sentence, with a line. So
That's an impressive run of keeping your history, Bob. Well, Uh,
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the things is because I'm talking to people who are, looking at actually making this serious. I'm looking at what, cost estimates are on doing these various items. Now, one of the things is that really what you want is how do you create a language pool? Um, where a language community, because a lot of these things, I mean, you get a copy of CoSy and man, it's you can start going and fixing anything that irritates you. Um, but these two items, one of them is genericizing all these
Lots of
arithmetic.
things that irritate me that I can't fix with CoSy, sadly.
Pardon?
I was being a smart aleck. I said lots of things that irritate me that I cannot fix with CoSy.
I gotta say, Kevin, I appreciate your sense of humor. It's, but no, the two items though to make it really human usable and also make it available as a web app, which is obviously the way to go and reach markets B. I mean, that's what Evernote is, and Evernote got about 290 million in startup funding. Um, but the two items are genericizing these arithmetic things, so I'm not having to say, integer or convert it to floating or anything like that, but you just say plus and times and so forth. And it goes and looks at what the objects are and says, oh, one of them is an integer and the other is a float. Well, it turns the integer into a float and then do the operation and return a float. But and all of that, I mean, essentially that's well known, and that's something the factor does. And as a matter of fact, most I think other languages do. The other is going and moving this to a fourth. I mean, one of the things is without question, this is a development in an environment here. And Riva fourth is, it's just not gonna. It's too there's too much mess in it. It needs to be cleaned up in another fourth. And I've seen that Europe seems to be behind G4th, and Anton Erdl perhaps I think is perhaps the main person behind that. But I see that I have G4th on my iPhone, on my Android phone, um, and you've I think Brad are the king of E4th. So it seems to me that it's this the target and E4th, I think may you have got it on every bloody chip that there is.
some
So
of them, I mean, it's notionally portable, but yeah, it depends on. I've only built it for a handful of.
yeah, well again it's this thing to move it to another fourth and then sort of the same time. I mean, clean it up, transliterate it. And one of the things is, in a sense, that I do. I've even now. Oh, I still anybody. I've resorted to, again. This is one of these irritations that I think I know that there are bugs in the uh, rough. Oh, I'm not displaying now, so it doesn't matter. But let me, as a matter of fact, show because uh, I just executed. I just pulled up this other window, but to go and to do any, I've got the list of all of these. I think, yeah. For instance, um, if I'm going to edit my main, uh, here's my main directory, and actually anybody who's doing fourth, uh, production, um, I mean, I edit this, and then I have a couple of lines down here which, well, this isn't my regular working environment, but now, I mean, I've got this line that retrieves the whatever my edited thing is and saves that as text, and I think I no longer need this. I think that's more of a pain in the ass. But then it writes it out to the file and so forth. And actually, in my main work log, I have a line now, so it saves a copy, then does the save of the new of the changes of the changed copy. But again, editing this, and the other thing is because I've got all this language for well, I'm not in my I mainly do the work over in this work log, um, which is here's work log, which I've got in a smaller font now. But one of the things is I've got a line now that does the save before it, so when I screw something up and it doesn't reload, you can do that. But one of the things is there's also a lot of things. Oh, I wanted to here, for instance, I've got lines to move to a phrase, go and find in the text anything, and then move the cursor to that. But yeah, in terms of an editing environment, again, because everything is searchable, there are all these synergies and being able to have a high level language that is open all the way down in low level language. And I really think there's no other environment. This is if you want to go and beat all of the mainstream languages, go and leapfrog them. Produce something that an ordinary human finds useful, and um, uh, yeah, it's again, these are the two poles of computing language, and you don't need anything in between. You know, you've made a continuum out of them, which is one of those to go back to where's the probably about here. Yeah, yeah, my newsletter. This guy Gary
Bob,
Hoover. Yeah, you
if you
time.
we're going to be stopping the recorder in about 5 minutes, so if you want to wrap it up.
Oh, I thought I'd wrapped it up a while ago. But do want to point out that Gary Hoover, who actually I've known since he gave a talk at Victor Niederhofer, had this very libertarian. Victor Niederhofer is a currency speculator, but he had a libertarian junto in New York. But Gary Hoover is got does history, American business history is his real thing. But I think this is very insightful. The simple key to breakthrough innovation. Yet history indicates that the vast majority of breakthroughs come from one very simple idea, combining two things that no one has previously connected. And CoSy uniquely openly bridges from the language of the chip forth to the mathematically rooted array language evolved and greatly simplified in APL and K. So, oh, I thought I'd shared, but I didn't. So, again, you look at my newsletter and let's see my most recent newsletter. But that's where we are. And again, I hit the asterisk and timestamp a while ago, back at 12:44. So that's when since then, it's just been, shooting the breeze.
Okay, let me lock my mic. Okay, thank you so much. There was one thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't get to. James Bowman has a Substack and a recent issue of his newsletter. Uh, he talks about a very high resolution small display and producing readable, at least to those with good vision, readable 3-point type on a little device that uses this little display. Uh, so if you're interested in that sort of stuff from somebody that has enough history in the fourth world to make it appropriate to mention his name here, might want to look into that. Once again, if you have speakers that you'd like to hear that I could reach out to or that you could reach out to, please communicate that with me, to me. Maybe we'll need the list of topics for roundtable chats. If you want to add to those, we might find ourselves using those suggestions at some time in the future. I'm going to email Andrew McEwen and apologize to the inadequacy of the program chairman in procuring good content going forward. Before we pull the plug on the recorder, anyone else have anything that they care to add to the record of this meeting? So Paul noted GitHub, FPC, and archive.org, archive of the FPC 36, which are antique. For as I remember, there were many versions of FPC, and I think it was associated with a target compiler called TCOM. Anybody remember TCOM?
I remember it.
And
I played
basically
with it around.
what you do is write a an application or a thing in Forth, and it would make I don't know if you could strictly call it an assembly language version, but the end result would be that it would compile a machine language version of your application that you could embed in an embedded system with I don't believe that there was an interpreter that would be resident in the target, compiled target. So you'd have to make that for yourself. So it wasn't really a Forth Incorporated style application compiler. The targets from those could be made to have a interactive component. So that was interesting in its day, certainly. Yeah, Edward Borowski says 64 Forth was a cartridge. Yes, that's true. And in fact, I have cartridges for the VIC and the Commodore 64. If anybody is willing to pay the cost of shipping, I could probably excavate such a thing. It's not something that I'm going to put in the e-waste anytime soon. So if you're going to look into getting yourself a VIC or a Commodore 64, drop me a line if it ever comes to fruition.
I have one thing I noticed if anybody has any recommendation for a good WYSIWYG HTML editor, please let me know what's useful, because this program that I used, Composer, it's gotten so stale. It keeps balking at whatever is in my CoSy, web page stuff. It doesn't like. I think maybe it doesn't recognize some security form. So I've actually, one of the things, complex editing I'll do in CoSy, where it's because I can do on the script, and I can get, find anything, whatever. But for the WYSIWYG, just really, I've resorted to just using a Thunderbird, composing it in my mail client. And
Okay,
but anybody who's got a recommendation on that really could use.
so contact Bob directly. Brad, I think it's time to pull the plug on the recorder in our usual lack of punctuality.